This is an HP NV5540. It's one of these inexpensive home all-in-one printers. It's got a scanner, it can print photos, and it's actually worked pretty well for a long time, longer than I expected. Let me fool it into thinking that the cover is down so I can show you a problem that has developed recently. And I think I've diagnosed where the problem is coming from. I'll let you listen and point out the problem. It actually just happened. And I think it has to do with picking up the sheets down underneath this cover. So we'll tell it that the cover, the outside cover, is open again to maybe get it to stop doing all of its cycles. And once it stops, I'll pick up that access panel for clearing jams and show you where I think the problem is. So this cover is for clearing jams. You pull that out, and then there's some rollers back here. These are the rollers that feed it while it's printing, but there's actually some rollers underneath there that I believe are the problem. Now these actually drop down and spin at the same time. That's what does your initial paper pickup, and those feed the paper or the photo printing paper to these main rollers that feed it during printing. And so on that assumption, I figured out the part number and bought this on eBay. So this is, I think it's called the pickup roller assembly. It's got a gear, some springs, and most critically, this gear train right here is intact. I believe the way it works is that one motor initiates a process of actually tipping and spinning these wheels all at once. And that's what's not working in my situation. So I'm going to disassemble this printer and try to replace this pickup assembly. And if my theory is correct, I might be able to get this thing working again. I'd sure like to. I actually really like the printer. For being a cheap printer, it prints great photographs. It's been convenient. It's just nice to have, and I'd like to have it back up and running. So here we go. And now to disassemble this thing, I'm going to be using a couple things. First is a hand screwdriver, T10 screwdriver with a long reach for some of the screws that are deep down in there. For most of the screws, I'll be able to remove them with this T10 Torx bit. And this is out of my little Wiha security bit set. I like this set. I don't need a security bit in this case, but it works just as well. So T10 for all the screws that I know about. We'll start up here, I guess, at the front bezel. Okay, 7 screws are available from the surface with the power screwdriver. The rest of them are somewhat recessed. So let's start with this one, which is down in here. I'm not going to take it all the way out. I'm just going to loosen it all the way. Then there's one back here. And then there is, let's see, there's one underneath this, there we go, this latch for the cover. I guess you can drive it down all the way down, and then that will give you space to get here and pull out this screw. One more thing I have to remove. This is a little, it's basically a spring mechanism that pulls the top lid down. You can just push this out. This little tab comes loose. It's really easy when you're up close on it. We need to next pull this front screen off and reveal the next one. It's obviously got 2 screws here, but then it's got 2 little kind of notches that engage down below. So I'm trying to free this all up. Oh, also remember to move this cartridge tray over to the center. That will be in the way as well. So here are those tabs that I was talking about that are holding the front bezel in place. Looks like I just need to shift it over to the right and then it'll come out. Okay, so I'm going to take the front panel here and just shift it over. There we go. That's pretty easy. And then we have a ribbon cable here that just needs to be pulled straight out. And there's the last screw right here. Some of them are silver, some of them are black. I have no idea why. And there's one screw I forgot. I knew it up here. Okay, so with that screw removed, now we should be free. And we are. So this whole panel comes out. We can now take the cover off completely. It just has a ribbon cable over here that slides into a connector on the left side. So that just pulls straight up. And then the scanner and top cover it comes off. And I believe the sides will come off now as well. So we'll lift up on the left side. You have to kind of peel it off from the back towards the front. There we go. So it's just clipped in here, here, and then in the front as well. No screws holding it on. Let's see if the same is true for the right. Okay, there's just a tab in the rear that has to be lifted and then tipped away. Same thing. So we're connected on this tab in the rear, here, here, and then these ones in the front. And we'll take out the paper jam cover that I put back in earlier. These printers are kind of hideously and beautifully designed at the same time. There's actually a little tab right here that if you pull it back, it bends away enough to lift up this gear train. And then if you just pull that left, it comes out. So it sits in a socket on this right side, and then there's a little spring socket on this left side, and that's how this sucker comes out. And now we're starting to be able to see the paper pickup mechanism. Keep an eye on these rollers here as I turn this white gear against the black one underneath it. This motor drive is going to tilt that down, and then after some tilting, it's going to switch to spinning. And basically one motor drive does both actions. In this case, it goes down, starts to spin, and now this gear, I can't turn it anymore. Something's bound up. So I think that's more evidence that our problem is with something in the gear train for those pickup rollers. I'm going to spin it back up so it's lifted again. But yeah, these rollers, they only spin to a point. I am curious if there is some access to this gear train from the bottom. So to satisfy that curiosity, I'm just going to spin it over. Keep in mind that there could be a lot of ink. In this case, the ink kind of pools down in this basin over here, I'll call it. It should be all like thick and jelly and maybe kind of dry. So it shouldn't be a problem, but just keep in mind this is a kind of a dirty job when it comes to the ink. Here's part of our roller assembly. It looks like this holds in part of it. The big question is, did I get the right part? This looks the same, I think. I think this is the right part, and this might tell us how it needs to come out. It might also tell us that we took apart more than was really necessary. There we go. This comes out, a little retainer, and allows this part, hopefully, to come up. If you apply a little bit of force, it comes right up and out. Old feed mechanism, new feed mechanism seem to do about the same thing. So that's causing me to look elsewhere. And I'm back on the top of the printer now, looking at this feed motor. And as I turn it, it does get kind of stopped at some point, even without that feed mechanism being in there. I don't know if that's supposed to do that or not. It does have an encoder ring on the back, which tells me that the computer inside of this is not intending for it to go forever. It's supposed to go to a certain point and stop. That's why you've got an encoder ring here. But the fact that it does stop without that feed mechanism tells me that something more is at play than what I had initially assumed. So I may take this off and see if I can find anything broken in here. It looks like I can remove a retainer screw here. There's a ribbon cable here. I'm going to disconnect carefully. All right, and now it looks like there's another screw here. Looks like there's another screw somewhere. I think they call this in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's see if we can take this whole side-to-side mechanism off. This thing should be like self-calibrating, so I'm not too worried about manipulating it. But it could also be completely wrong. Kind of nice that this printer just doesn't work anyways, so I can't really mess it up more than it already is. There's a grounding strap back here. Let's get that out of the way. Hey, look at that. Wow. I'm not going to disconnect this, but that is the the cartridge carrier, I guess, and that allows this motor assembly to come loose. Wow, when you get this gear mechanism out, you realize there's a lot going on. So, of course, you've got an encoder on the backside to tell the computer what's going on, and that motor turns this white gear, and it's turning all this other gear train that then moves this part back and forth. Ooh, the fact that it just slipped, that tells me something. So, interesting. When you turn the white gear one way, it goes that way, spin it back, and it looks like this part slides backwards. At the same time, that's driving these gears, which in turn drive this, which this in turn drives the axle on the paper pickup roller. So it kind of sits right here underneath the printer. So this motor turning is doing a lot all at once. So something may be going on in here. The fact that this doesn't always go back and forth. Oh. It's like it moves sometimes, and other times is it supposed to be free or gear driven? Does this come off? Aha! Look at that. We've got broken gear teeth. Look in there. That little sucker, it's got a bunch of teeth broken off. I gotta believe that's what's going on here. It goes to try to drive this mechanism, and at some point it runs into these broken teeth, and broken teeth just jam up the works. So, wow, does it come off too? There it is. There is the source of our problem. Just mangled, missing many teeth, and at least half of some of the teeth. So back to parts diagrams and searching online and seeing if this gear is available. I bet not. Or this entire motor assembly, possibly, and find out what the cost is on that. Obviously, I'm already in the realm of repairing something that probably would just normally be replaced. But if you've seen this channel, you've seen that I really don't like doing that. I like keeping things out of the landfill if I can. Even if the repair is kind of difficult, I'd rather do that rather than throw it away and get a replacement. Plus, it's fun. I learned something, and hopefully these videos help other people too. So the plot keeps thickening. So again, here's the motor that drives this big gear. This big gear on the bottom side has this small gear that's built into it, and it's got broken teeth all around it. All of these teeth, or at least half broken off. Those teeth drive two gears. They drive this one, which is also broken, but it also drives this gear. This gear seems to be intact, but look, it's the one that ultimately drives the pickup for the paper. So this would be like here. This drives the axle on the pickup rollers, and this is what starts the whole process off. This guy has to spin. And with these teeth being broken off, I bet that's not happening reliably at all. Ah, look at this metal ramp. This part, this linear motion here, this ramp drives one edge of the pickup roller assembly. I think that's here. It's what causes this to dip down, and at the same time, these gears driving the axle on the end of the feed roller are making these wheels turn. So that's how you get one motor causing a dip in the feed roller mechanism as the feed rollers also spin. So it tips down, dips, spins, picks up paper, and then on reversal, it goes back. Well, looking online, I couldn't find any parts diagrams. I couldn't find any new OEM parts from HP. I did find some aftermarket sellers that were offering refurbished parts with text descriptions, so I wasn't exactly sure what I'd be getting, and the prices were, well, more than a new printer probably. Fortunately, over on eBay, I did find a seller offering a lot of HP NV gears and small parts, and I meticulously counted up the gear teeth on the screen and the photo that was posted, and then compared that to the number of teeth I counted on the broken gears, and it looks like this lot will have all the parts I need to put this thing back together. So I did click purchase, again probably spending more than this printer is worth, but I'm excited to get those gears, install them, and see if I can get this thing back up and running. So if those eBay parts work, you'll see a part 2 posted here. If they don't, well, you won't, but I hope at least this was helpful for anyone that needs to take apart their HP Envy. Thanks for watching.